on Saturday. We'll get into that a little bit, while at the same time maintaining their playoff position in the Eastern Conference. An MLS sweep on their way to the semifinals of Leagues Cup. And with so many Argentinians and so much mate being consumed within the New York City Football Club, I've got an Argentinian chef who's going to show us how to make mate. It's all coming up. NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene el tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer!
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Well, hello there. I'm Glenn. There's Roberto Abramowitz to give you the complete picture. I'm Glenn Crooks. And this is another episode of NYCFC Views Live. We are brave. We go on live every week. So if there's a glitch, what are you going to do? Roberto, are you nervous?
Nah, I think we've dealt with this before. We're like pros or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've done a lot of live stuff in our lives, so
yes,
why not?
Every week.
Why not a podcast? I'm pretty excited, and I'll just billboard it in this manner. I've become great friends with Ariel Hudas is not my only Argentinian friend. I've got another one. He happens to be a chef, and he understands mate better than just about anybody I know. So we've got a special treat in extra time. He's going to show us how to make mate. So if you're listening to this without pictures, that's going to be a little difficult because this is a video chef production, but that's a little bit later on anyway.
Okay, so I have a question for you because have you tried it yet? Have you done this?
No. He's asked me over. He lives a little bit down the road from me, and I've never been to his house because that's where he would prepare it. So now this is going to probably entice me to get down there and let him make this for me sometime. Because I've heard it. I mean, you can't ask the players for a sip. It's not like. But we've seen.
Are you going to bring your own straw?
I mean, just all these guys, Tati Castellanos stands out to me. He seemed to always have it. Maxi's got it all over the place. Now you got Nico Fernandez Mercado. He's got it everywhere he goes. And along with Ojeda and Julian Fernandez. So it's.
And a lot of the non-Argentinians are doing it as well.
Yeah. It's catching on. It's catching on. Because I remember Villa. Right? Villa started bringing it.
Yeah.
So it trickles into Spain sometimes as well. All right. So Leagues Cup, all MLS teams. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's review this Nashville game and see what's coming up with the Cincinnati match. So we both sat with Pascal Janssen today, and I don't know if we really got, and also Andrés Perea, never really got a clear picture as to what the heck happened in the first 15 minutes. There was no feasible, viable explanation from either one of them. It's just like, mentality. Yeah, we know the mentality wasn't there, but how the heck can you proclaim that the next 10 games, starting with that one, are cup finals? Because that's the importance of them because of how tight everything is in the Eastern Conference. There's definitely no guarantee of a playoff spot. Still isn't after the win. And now they're just saying, well, now it's 9 cup finals. All right.
Well, we're going to have this whole countdown. It's going to be 1 cup final, if they, when they play Seattle, if they're still in it, right, or have a chance to be in it. I got the same sense. So not only that did we speak to Andrés Perea during the press conference, but I also interviewed him for my radio preview, and I addressed it with him, and he was also sort of fluxed on it, like that he had no explanation for why the team came out as flat as they came out, and that there is no explanation, and it's it's troubling, because if the mentality is supposed to be, and the coach is telling us and he's telling the team, that this is life and death within the realm of, soccer, okay? We'll keep it to that, then you got to come out like it's that way. And they didn't come out that way. Now, to the team's credit and to Pascal's credit, it took them 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden, they started to play a lot better. And then, after the 1 hour, 32-minute break, they came out in those first, in those 7 minutes that were left, and played very well, although they gave up one horrific chance on a corner kick that Matt Freese saved on the last play of the half. And then in the second half, they came out and obviously played much, much better. But they've got to be like this from the get-go. And it's not only, the coach telling them, you need the leaders on the field, to get after everybody. If they don't see, the players doing what's right, whatever that is, then you got to go after them, right? And that's on Matt Freese. That's on Maxi Morales. And that's Thiago Martínez wasn't playing. We expect him, to be playing on Saturday. But the leaders of the team have to go out and even if they have to show somebody up, light a fire under somebody.
I think that's too trite and hackneyed what you're saying right there, because 20 seconds. Who's going to charge anybody up? 20 seconds into the match, Sam Surridge, one of the best finishers in the league this year, he was tied with Messi for the Golden Boot going in. He was a goal behind, because Messi had scored the day before.
Yeah.
But he should have tied him up on that first one. I mean, that's a sitter, man.
Yeah.
It was well done. Schaffelberg gave him the ball, and then Schaffelberg later scored in the 10th minute. But what I'm saying is that there's no one to get them going in the manner you're talking about, because it was from the kickoff.
Yeah.
New York City had to kick off and put it in deep, which was the plan. You heard Pascal say that today. They don't always just kick it deep. So they kicked it deep. They were trying to pin them in. They had a poor pressure as a group. Nashville gets out of it. And, oh, my God. I mean, I remember looking up at the clock. I said, boy, that's inside in my head. That's inside a minute. It was inside 25 seconds.
Yeah, that was quick. And you know what? You just mentioned how they try to pin them, and now that's the new strategy. And Nashville did the exact same thing to New York City that, that Dallas did to them, which was kick the ball out of bounds, at the level, at the penalty box. And, New York City came back and scored in an instant against Dallas. That didn't quite happen against Nashville.
Forgive me if I said this last week or have said it before, because, sometimes we're on so many platforms, you forget what you said where. But Thomas Frank, who's now your Spurs coach at Brentford last year, scored 5 goals within 80 seconds of kickoff, doing it just like that, just kicking the ball deep. And whether it stayed in play or not, they just pinned him in, boom, won the ball, scored. And it's not a bad strategy. And
no,
it's you could see how it could easily work. I mean, I think about it now, and I didn't do that when I was a full-time coach on the collegiate level. And I'll tell you what, though, seeing how different teams are utilizing, why not? And part of it is the aesthetics. Part of it's the aesthetics, right? I don't like it. It's almost like I don't like it. It's not, it's not fluid. It's not beautiful. But you know what? If it gets the job done.
Yeah, but let me ask you this: when you were coaching, right? And it's not like you retired 2 years ago or anything like that. It's been a while, and I'm talking about Rutgers and not your PSA team, right? When you were coaching at Rutgers, did you ever really press high like teams press high now?
Not much. Only when it was always visual cues. So it had to be, something had to happen. We basically set up like at 3/4 of the field. But then if a pass was made to the right back that was under hit or behind them and they had to, chase it towards the line, then boom, we would go as a unit. But otherwise, no, I hadn't really hung out with Jesse Marsh enough yet to instill that.
Yeah, because now it's so much more commonplace. And it wasn't commonplace, I'll say 10 years ago.
No, but the one thing the Barcelona and the Spain team in 2010, we didn't have the players that could stroke the ball around like they did. But the one thing that we started to do when I was watching those games is to have numbers around the ball and win the ball back mentality. When you lose it, win it back. The counter press, which Barcelona's probably. People always talked about the tiki taka, but what really made them impossible to beat sometimes is how quickly they won the ball back.
The 5-second rule.
Yeah, that's right.
Fight like crazy to get the ball back within 5 seconds. You don't get it, then fall back.
Yeah, you don't get it, organized. It's a pretty easy concept to and then if you got everybody thinking the same way. But so anyway, yeah. Also, I'm involved in a project where I'm looking at a lot of things from a psychological perspective in sports, and it ranges anywhere from 70 to 95% when you talk to coaches or sports psychologists as to how much impact the mind game, the mentality, your mindfulness plays a role in the outcome of a match. So some said 95%. So that's what I'm also suggesting is that you can't. It's hard to figure out. And Pascal was, I don't think they really know what happened. He did say one thing that, and he didn't name the players, but he said a few players weren't ready to play. Basically, he said, so he didn't blame the whole team. He just kind of said, and I don't know if that was in my one-on-one with him or if it was during the presser, but one area or the other, he kind of was, I think he felt there were a few players that just weren't quite ready from the opening kickoff. And I suppose if you watch how that first play developed, you can guess who they are.
Hey, you have to go back and look at it and go, oh, yeah. I can see that.
But
I can see that. Well, we'll see if there'll be any lineup changes tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, on Saturday. That might be a clue, too.
Well, we know Thiago Martins will be in the squad. So whether he's in the 11 or not, that remains to be seen. I would think if he's ready, Pascal will put him in. That's what I think.
Do you? Is it easier for a defenseman to go 90 when he hasn't played versus a midfielder or a forward?
Depends on how much they're going to have to chase, on the road against Cincinnati. Marking up against Denke. They've got a couple of new faces, Cincinnati, now, too, since the last game we played. But Denke is not necessarily a speedster. He's more a power guy.
Well, you got Evander.
Yeah.
he's going to be there. That's
going to be Hack and Perea and O'Neill. O'Neill in particular is going to have the task of Matty Lawrence described it so well when we were talking about Evander recently, and he has he does leg lift. When he shoots, it looks like it's almost like a wrist shot in hockey where it's just like boop. He has very little leg lift and still can hit the ball like a bullet and hits it with a swerve and a dip and everything. His shot is so hard for goalkeepers to calculate too, the way he strikes it. So, you can't give him hardly any space because he can get the shot off. And one thing I pointed out to Pascal today, just going back and looking, New York City beat Cincinnati. Granted, it was in the 5 boroughs, but it was 1-0. Julian Fernandez, one of his best goals as a member of New York City. But Evander only had 3 shot attempts, none of them on target, and 2 of them were blocked. So that's the way you need to defend the guy. Yeah, and if you go back to the playoffs, so New York City has won the last 3 games, although they tied in Cincinnati and then won after overtime and penalty kicks. And that one of the craziest penalty kick sequence. I remember that's the one, right? That was the penalty kick sequence where New York City had 3 different chances to put it away and didn't score. Mitja Ilinic walking up to Roman Salentano and giving him the old face. And then that was great. Ilinic scoring. Who missed? I know Martins missed. Well, the story, I have to go back. The story of the game was Freeze with his 3 saves because everybody made such a big deal about Costa Rica 3 saves. I have to tell you, I texted everybody on that broadcast. I can't remember who was on it, but I texted them all just to tell them. I said, he had 3 saves against Cincinnati in the shootout last year. That would be good to put into the broadcast. Nobody caught on. I don't know. Nobody even responded. I think they were like, oh. Our producers maybe should have known that. Wasn't that John Strong on the? I think it was, and because I know those guys pretty well, but also you texted me during commentary, and I never get it because I I can't look at text messages while I'm on the air. It's hard for me. I know you can. I just can't figure out. You listen to a freaking, what do? You listen.
Okay, no, not for New York City FC. But so when I'm broadcasting a game on TV, that is in a studio, that if I'm doing it from studio or from home, so if I'm doing, let's say, CBS NFL, which I do. So what I'll have is that I'll be watching the game on my screen, on my TV, and then I'll have Jim Nance and Tony Romo in my ear in English, and they serve like as spotters for me, and I'm doing the commentary in Spanish. Now, I'm not translating what they're saying. I'm just using them as spotters. So if something happens that I can't see, then I can use that information.
All right. Well, I think that's remarkable. All right.
And it doesn't interfere with me. It doesn't, I can separate it and listen, get what I need while I'm talking.
That was my point in giving you credit for it. 10 minutes in, Schaffelberg scores, down 1-0. Everything looks terrible. And then a hydration break. Hallelujah. Because Pascal will not go for it. He just won't. Against Sporting KC, hydration break. It's 1-1, but they're getting their butts smeared at that moment, New York City. And he makes 3 substitutions, fresh legs, and they probably should have won the game. They had a couple of chances to really get the job done. But Sporting KC didn't even come close to scoring the rest of the way. Hydration break, MVP, I thought, in that game. I think it's the MVP again in this game because 10 minutes later, Andrés Perea scores the goal. And if you were listening to the Spanish side on the New York City FC network, it sounded like this.
Ha estado a préstamo, esta es su segunda temporada. Aquí un balón filtrado, Perea buscando el tiro, lo hace y ¡gol! ¡Gol! De New York City. Andrés Perea con un tiro del borde del área empata el partido a 1.
Muy buen gol de Perea. Hace un par de recortes en el área, sin mirar, de derecha, lanza un remate duro, no a quemar ropa, pero duro, frente a Joe Willis, y no tiene ningún problema en lograr el empate 1-1. Se viste de 9 o de 10 y Perea funciona bien en ese rol.
Well, in Medellin, Colombia, as a youth player, Andrés Perea scored a lot of goals, apparently. I asked him today, have you ever scored a bundle of goals? Because in the pros, he has not. But, boy, he looked like a goal scorer on that one. And he really did. I mean, he had a chance to get a second one off of Maxi Morales' set piece. Probably should have done a little better there.
Yeah, he should have. He should have scored there. But that first goal, that goal, the way he gets the ball and he basically beats 2 defenders moving the ball to the right, and then he fired it. That was a great goal for him. First one ever in Yankee Stadium. I was sort of surprised by that, but that's what it was.
Well, he scored 6 goals for New York City. I mean, it's not like why would that be so surprising? He's
got 6 goals. New York City plays probably 40% of their games in Yankee Stadium versus any place else.
He scored 6 goals in his career for New York City, and you're saying it's a surprise? It's his first at Yankee Stadium?
Yes, it's absolutely.
That's a ridiculous statement.
I don't think so.
Well, I do. So there you go.
Too bad.
But here's a guy, honestly, and we've seen, he could strike the ball too from distance, but he's an 8 to 10. He should be scoring 8 to 10 a year because he's so good in the air. He's got to be better. He's got to be better in terms of goals scoring in the air. But he's, I don't know how many of his 6 goals have been air game, but at least 2 of them. I'm thinking of 2. But he could be 8 to 10 goals, man. But he's only 24. He's still got time to improve.
Yeah. Well, he's also getting a lot more playing time now, right? So at the beginning of the season, he was a sub. He was injured. There was a whole bunch of things. Now he's an ingrained starter.
That's a good point. He was a regular in Orlando, but he was never in Philadelphia, nor has he been in New York City, except for that when he came over on loan. And then injuries have held him back a bit. There's no question about it. Now, a guy we know that hasn't scored with his head, but he's got 13 goals is Alonso Martínez. Pascal has often said, we got to get this guy better in the air. But he scored a poacher's goal, which was pretty cool. And as you'll hear in my commentary, I was a little unclear as to how the ball got in the back of the net. But here it was on the English side, New York City FC Network, the game-winning goal, 77th minute. His 7th game-winning goal of the year, which is tied with Kevin Denke, the opponent this weekend, for game-winning goals at MLS. Here it is.
That was exquisite by O'Neal, and it gives Ojeda a chance to drive to the byline, puts it across the 6, it's an own goal, and New York City takes the lead. Alonso Martínez was there as well. Let's see who got the touch. Regardless, New York City goes up a goal. Aiden O'Neal, long recovery run to win it back for New York City, gets it forward to Agustín Ojeda, to the byline, plays it across, and New York City, big moment in this season perhaps for them. A critical 3 points on the line here. And I think Alonso Martínez just got his little touch on the right boot.
I think so. Whether it's Martinez or not, I actually look at it again, it's 100% Alonso Martínez. But the assists here go to Aiden O'Neal. You mentioned it, Glenn, that recovery run. It's not just a recovery run, but the way he gets in front of Hani Mukhtar, levers him off the ball, and then keeps possession of it. And then Ojeda is found on the left-hand side. And for the first time in a very, very long time, he believes in himself and he believes in his pace. He fronts up Nahar, just manoeuvres the ball to the left-hand side, gets to the byline and just fizzes it across that corridor of uncertainty and behind the back line. And Alonso Martínez says, thank you very much. Terrific play all around there from NYCFC.
All right, Martinez scored. I obviously called it an own goal right at first, and
it was tough to see.
Yeah, but in retrospect, just let it go and wait for a couple of minutes. But I was so excited to see that New York City had taken the lead at that point. And and Matty Lawrence with me there, he went into it in depth, and during the play-by-play call, I really remarked even a little bit earlier what O'Neal did to win the ball back. That was his brightest moment as a New York City player, in my estimation, how far he went back, recovered the ball, and maneuvered his way around in order to get that ball forward. So it's, goals conceded and goals scored. It's always what I always did as a coach, rewind the tape 30 seconds because something happened that helped create that well before it ever happened.
So the other thing that I found very interesting about the goal, and it was addressed today by Pascal, was Alonso Martínez, once he sees Ojeda driving to the end line, right? His run that he makes, that is just so determined. He has to break through 2 defenders to try to put himself in place to be able to touch that ball. And his determination of not getting beat was just awesome to watch. I mean, that was just, he had a great sense of what was going to happen, tremendous anticipation, and then the drive and being able to put that ball in once it got there. If you're just like looking at the replays, just watch him off the ball and then how he attacks that space and how he scores that goal. That is fantastic.
Well, here's what Pascal Janssen thought about Alonso Martínez and his goal. This is part of my pregame show presented by Ford on the New York City FC Network coming up. Roberto and I will both be on with our broadcast at 7:15 ahead of the FC Cincinnati match. But again, here's Pascal on Alonso Martínez. It's a different kind of goal from Martínez. I think we don't think of him as a poacher so much, but I'm wondering, did he take another step himself? I know you're looking for the air game to improve, or maybe some quality there, but we haven't seen him score goals like that too often.
No, he's determined to score goals, and he has a preference in movement as well. We all know if an opponent plays with a lot of space behind their defense, you better get your running shoes on defending Alonso. But this run he made in order to score this goal is something that we've been talking about quite often now, because it's a straight corridor run, and you just have to make sure you get at a certain place at a certain time, and just trust the guy on the wing in the assist zones that we have on the pitch to supply this cross. And as you've seen against Nashville, everything was spot on, and we got the goal.
Yeah, so like you said, Roberto, too, it's something that they've been working on with him to attack it. And we really haven't seen him score a goal like that. I can't recall where he's barreling through a crowd of defenders to get the little touch, to go down. And, we've seen a lot of balls whiz past him, I think, in similar situations. So I like to see players developing. And Alonso Martínez continues to develop. His expected goals are a lot higher than the number of goals he's scored. So obviously he's left a few on the table, but still without him, 7 game-winning goals is massively impressive.
Well, and I don't know where New York City would be without him.
Well,
I mean, you got to think about that.
Well,
I mean, here's a guy who basically, he was a right wing, and in an emergency, he gets converted. This is Tati Castellanos all over again. And because the guy that they brought in didn't work out. And at some point, they finally, and they gave him all the chances in the world, which is Bakrar. And then at some point, they just said, okay, this Martinez guy keeps on scoring goals in practice. He's very accurate with his shot. He's not shy to shoot. Let's start putting him in the middle and see what happens. And, as it turns out, he's just a natural center forward who had been put on the right side. And that's what good coaching does. And you got to give credit to Nick Cushing on this, who's the one who made the move and took him off the wing and put him in the middle.
Cushing, by the way, there was a Nick Cushing spotting at Icon Stadium for the Gotham Monterey CONCACAF W match last night.
Wow, he went in that storm to see that. All right, good for him. I mean, I would have loved to have gone. As a matter
he's
of
a
fact,
British
but
boy.
it was just...
He's a British boy. I mean, come on, they don't care about Little Ring.
Yeah, I know. I wonder how many people they got there. I saw that Gotham won, but I didn't see how many people they got. The place holds 5,000. So
they didn't. I watched the game. They didn't. There weren't too many there, but it was a miserable night, as we all know that live in this area. It was it was a rugged night, and Nick there obviously started to scout and look at things, as he is the coach of the Denver Summit now in the NWSL, which will begin play next season. Agustín Ojeda. Now, look, the transfer window closes at 1 a.m. Eastern tonight or tomorrow morning, however you want to look at it. And if New York City fails to bring in any other attacking presence, a lot falls on the shoulders of Agustín Ojeda and Julian Fernandez. But let's look at Ojeda. And first, let's listen to Pascal Janssen, because Ojeda, he drove past the defender to get to the byline, which we haven't seen very often, and a guy with his pace. And just listen to Pascal talk about, the liberties that he gives his wingers, and then specifically about Ojeda, who now, if unofficial, I think he's got 3 assists in his last 3 games, a single assist in each of his last 3 games, all competitions. But here's Pascal today.
The thing, and I mentioned that after the game as well, Trapo has to realize that he has so much potential, and he has this blank check to go at defenders. So we try to get him in the best possible positions in order to go at defenders, like he did with his preparation for this goal. And of course, he has to find a balance at some point in order to recognize if he attracts like 2 or 3 people to his side, that he is aware of what happens in the middle or the opposite side.
Sure.
But this moment shows that once you leave Agustín in a 1v1 like this defender did, you have to prepare yourself.
And then when there's space behind, he's the kind of player, wouldn't you just like to see him push the ball past the defender and run on the other side?
Yeah, and he's capable of doing that on both sides. So, and if you go back to how he prepared this goal, it's a cross with his outside right foot, not with his left foot. Yeah. But in general, Glenn, it's like, okay, when we have our attackers in the areas where we can enjoy them the most, they have all the freedom in the world to go at defenders and do whatever they please.
So there's Pascal Janssen on Agustín Ojeda, who had actually given up an opportunity to go past the same defender, Palacios, a little bit earlier, and Palacios was gassed. He was bent over with hands on knees, and he was done near the end of that game, and Ojeda took advantage of it in the 77th minute, the game winner. So a great win considering how it all started, Roberto, and it puts New York City firmly above the playoff line. Well, when I say firmly, I mean it's pretty crazy. Just for the Supporters Shield alone, let me see if I can find this. I wrote this down. 9 teams are separated by 7 points. 6 clubs are within 5 points in the Supporters Shield standings alone, Roberto. And then as far as New York City goes, they're in 8th place right now on 41 points. Chicago's in 9th on 39 points. Red Bulls have 39 points. And above New York City is Charlotte, 44. But New York City has a game in hand or 2 games in hand on all those teams mentioned. So that they have to take advantage of. And, of course, you came up with the thing. If New York City beats Cincinnati on Saturday and then wins their 2 games in hand that they have on Cincinnati, they'd only be within 2 points of FC Cincinnati, who would no longer, by the way, be at the top of the Supporters Shield standings. Right now they're tied with San Diego. San Diego's number 1 and Cincinnati's number 2.
I think that part of the issue with Ojeda may come down to expectations too. John Rojas, who is watching us, hi John, also just sent me this, and I just went to look it up. So Ojeda now has played 54 games for New York City, and he's got 4 goals. In his last 3 games, he's got 2 assists and a goal. That includes Leagues Cup. But when he was at Racing, right, from March of 2022 to February 2024, in 24 games, he had 3 goals. So the expectation, I think, as far as that he would be scoring more than he has. And remember, he went through a 37-game drought over 1,600 minutes from June 2024 up until he scored in Leagues Cup. And he admitted, and when I spoke with him, that, yeah, he felt that pressure, that he needed to score, that he needed to do more. And in looking at the way his game has gone, it's like you see, I think, that in the past maybe month, maybe 2-3 weeks, there's been an uptick. Something's clicked for him. So he's doing something. He's being more effective, and he's also being, I think, a little bit more assertive. And maybe because of the last 2 games where he came off the bench, that after he had scored that goal, which was in a starting position, by the way, that maybe now it's a little bit of a relief and there's less pressure and he's just being looser and, going for it.
Well, I disagree with your assessment. I think coming out of preseason, he was very confident. At preseason, he was doing things that I've never seen him do before in terms of mentality and confidence, getting forward. And I figured, maybe Pascal had been pumping him up in that manner. But through a good core of the season, he was giving the club very little. He was coming out very little. So I'm not sure but you were talking about, within the last 3 games. Okay, I got you. But through the rest of the season, he hasn't shown that. So
that's why I said 2-3 weeks. But I said a month, and then I corrected it down to 2-3 weeks.
All right, so. So maybe if nobody comes in by 1 a.m. Today or tomorrow morning in this transfer window, maybe that takes pressure off of guys too, knowing like, okay, it is my time, and I don't have to worry about anybody else coming, and and there is competition on the wings. He's not going to. Is he going to start against ahead of Hannes Wolf? I don't think so.
No, and he's not starting ahead of Nico Fernandez Mercado. He's definitely not. So he and Fernandez are both entrenched on the bench. Although, also that they're coming in the second half. They're coming in at some point.
Well, and he's one of the fastest players in the league. So Fernandez gives you a different quality, but he was perfect on the side of Palacios because Palacios was dying, and there was no way he didn't want anything to do with Agustín Ojeda at the end of that match.
Now, I haven't looked at. I haven't looked at Cincinnati's injuries and stuff. I looked at the lineup that they played last week. So I didn't see Luca Orellano anywhere. He didn't come into the game, and he definitely didn't start. So it's going to be we have to see what the injuries are, and I haven't done that part of my work yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
But DeAndre Yedlin is gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
New York City is going to be looking at different, at a different defense from what they saw earlier in the year. In the last game, they played with Yedlin and Engel as wing backs with Hagelin, Miazga, and Robinson playing 3 in the back.
That'll be their 3, and then they're leaking goals. Celentano's not as good this year as he was last year. Miles Robinson, who just signed a contract extension, which is good news for Cincinnati. They're not defending as consistently well as they have. I mean, they're up 3-0 on who did they last play? Portland? No, yeah, Portland. They're up 3-0, and Evander scoring against his former team, and he in Portland, right? And he didn't hold back. I mean, he didn't. A lot of times guys who score against their former teams, they don't celebrate. Well, he went right over to the Timbers Army and gave him the old shh, and pointed to his whatever they do on these goals. Yeah. Anyway.
And then that broke a 3-game non-winning streak for them.
Yeah.
So including
but it was
League
final
Cup, because they had tied Juarez, lost to Chivas, and lost to Charlotte before beating Portland on the road.
But the point there is they were up 3-0 inside a half hour, and they had to hang on for 3-2, and then it was 3-2. That's the final score. So they're susceptible. So New York City, let's see if Fernandez Marcao can take another step in his comfort level. We saw him today, met him for the first time. He said he's feeling, he's feeling a little bit better, about his surroundings now, and he'll get there. He's got something. There's no question, Roberto. Hey, before we get to extra kicking it around, not extra time, kicking it around.
I was like, did you abandon us? What is this?
No, I use extra time. I'm telling you, I got too many things going on. Anyway, and you want to hold on, and you want to call anybody that wants to learn how to make mate, because I've got my Argentinian chef friend, Sebastian Nieto, who in just a few minutes is going to show us during kicking it around. But we got to talk about Leagues Cup a little bit, Roberto. Let's give this about 4 or 5 minutes. I'll let you do most of the talking. But we've got Inter Miami, Orlando City meeting in the semifinal, and Seattle and the LA Galaxy meeting in the semifinal. So the Galaxy, whose season is done in MLS, they're trying to salvage something here. That would be wild if they won back-to-back trophies, MLS Cup and then the Leagues Cup.
They're playing great. They're playing great in this tournament. They've got 3 wins in 26 games in MLS. They have more wins already here. It's nuts.
Pachuca,
or as many wins, I should say.
Pachuca has more victories in their 5 Apertura games than the Galaxy has in 26. 3 wins for the Galaxy, 4 wins for Pachuca, but they're out. Galaxy win it.
And they outplayed them. They absolutely outplayed them. And then you see Peck having a great game. You see Painful having a great game. Fagundes has become like a great leader. And he loves these games because it's like all pushing and shoving and getting in people's faces. And he's like, ooh, this is what I like. Well, and it's fun.
We talk about psychology.
I stayed up and watched it.
We talk, you saw it. So that's fantastic. And I'm glad to hear that too. I'm a big Greg Vanny fan. But we talked about psychology at the top of the show, what percentage of that, reflects on how people go about things. I'm sure they're just like, it's just like, this is our competition now. We know MLS is done. We're not going to the playoffs. And, this is time. DC United, by the way, can be eliminated this weekend. When we're looking, there's already playoff implication. DC United could be eliminated. And San Diego last week also, San Diego could clinch. They could have last weekend too, but they can clinch this weekend also. I don't think there's any other scenarios for anybody clinching.
No.
Yeah.
Can I just go back to one thing, because Misael brings this up, and it's really, really true. Marco Reus is really making a difference. He's playing at a different level now that he's not injured, because listening to the broadcast last night and Max Breto's, I believe it was Max. No, was it Max? Was he on the game? I don't know. I saw 4 games last night. I'm crazy. I'm just crazy at this point as well. But whoever was doing the broadcast was mentioning a lot that Royce wasn't, in tip-top shape because of injuries and things. Well, they say now that he's healthy. Well, now that he's healthy, and I've seen him play a few games in the past month, And he really does make a difference. And so it's good to see that when you're bringing in a player of that quality, and he was a German national team superstar, Borussia Dortmund superstar, came here, all of a sudden not playing very well, people questioning, why is he not playing well? Does he really care, etc.? No, in this case, it was injuries. And now that he's healthy, you can see the quality and you can see how well he's playing and what a difference that makes. And so it makes me happy to see that, players are coming over here and giving it their all. So, not just taking this as a vacation.
Orlando and Toluca 0-0, but Pedro Galese 2 penalty kick saves, and he scores the game-winning penalty. Pedro Galese.
All in a row.
Wow.
I mean, it was the 2 saves were the last two of the shootout, and then he takes the ball, and he says, "I'm taking care of this," because the last guy had missed, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm taking care of this myself. Go away." And he took the ball, and really good penalty too.
Yeah. Seattle and Puebla tied, and that was another penalty kick shootout. So they're playing the Galaxy. Orlando's playing Miami. Real quick on this, Javier Mascherano basically sitting behind the bench after he got red carded, shouting instructions to substitute players going in, and on the phone to his assistants, and he was coaching the game. I still don't. And then the rules, the Athletic had an article today where at first reporters were told, no, it's not allowed. And then they were later told it is permitted. So fishy stuff in Fort Lauderdale for Inter Miami. Really?
Yeah, no, but
Really?
the thing is that in their own rules, it says, and Taylor Twellman, I believe, tweeted it out and highlighted that. In their own rules, it says that you can't do what he was allowed to do last night. And on the broadcast, they were talking about it the entire time. I mean, it's horrific. And now they go and they say, oh, no, it was allowed. It's bullshit. Yeah. Sorry for cursing, but it is.
Yeah.
It's just absolute bullshit. It makes the league look really bad. Not only the league, it makes League's Cup look bad, Liga MX look bad, MLS look bad, and CONCACAF look bad, because all of them are responsible. Get your act together. And then there was the other thing with the Nation.
Well, I'm just going to say, when it involves Inter Miami, there's suspicion that foul play is, because look, everybody involved in this event wants Messi to play in the semifinal and the final of this event. That they want Messi. So if it will help to have Mascherano with a red carded at halftime, sitting behind the bench, barking out instructions. If it's too loud, he's calling his assistants on the phone. He is dictating the substitutions. You don't do that. We've seen Jose Mourinho get red carded, numerous times, and he's always sitting up, on the rooftop. He's not communicating. You can't, man. Leagues Cup doesn't have any special rules that you can communicate. And I know you said it's printed, and there it was. So
yeah, I saw this with Piojo Herrera once. Piojo Herrera, he went up to the stands, was watching the game, and then he was on the phone. It wasn't even a phone. It was a walkie-talkie giving instructions. But this was like so out in the open. You see the assistant on the sideline looking at his phone like this. And you see Mascherano yelling into his phone, not like he needed to be on the phone because he probably could hear him the way he was yelling. And plus the game wasn't sold out. So there was that. It just looks horrible. And then there was another incident last night in the Galaxy Puebla game, Pachuca game. So Edwin Cerrillo got a yellow card in the 28th minute. And then later on in the half, he goes in for a challenge that really wasn't that terrible. But O'Shea Nation, who was the referee, decided that he was probably going to give him a yellow. And he takes out the yellow card and he looks at it and he goes, oh, wait, he already has the yellow. And then he goes and he puts it back in the back pocket. Now, once that happened, he was surrounded by Pachuca players. And I love the EPL rule now, which is like only the captain, everybody else gone. Yeah. But he got surrounded. And he was like, no, go away.
I respect that.
Before Pachuca fans go nuts and, it's like all whatever, privilege to MLS or whatever. Chaca Rodriguez had a yellow card, and he stopped two breakaways with professional fouls. Both of them are absolute yellow cards. And O'Shea Nation, gave him the verbal yellow.
Well, we've seen a lot in a
Yeah.
lot of games we've done this year, Roberto. We've seen a lot of those very
Yeah.
hesitant to give the second yellow. All right, hey,
Yeah.
let's kick it around.
Let's do that.
So, Roberto, when I was at Rutgers, I had a guy who catered our meals in preseason, and if we had banquets or things, and we became very good friends because he was a footballer, Argentinian. His name is Sebastian Nieto. He's a professional chef, and he's still at Rutgers. But he's also a referee. So he refereed a couple of my daughter's games along the way on the club level. Anyway. This morning I thought because I saw another picture with a New York City player with drinking mate, and I thought we remarked on this on the road. There's so many guys drinking mate. I thought, wow, Sebastian. So I called him up and I said, could you record like a video of how you make mate? Because he's invited me over several times. I still haven't done it. And he said, sure. So here he is, the Argentinian chef, the referee, Sebastian Nieto, and mate.
Hi, Glenn. This is your friend Sebastian here from my kitchen. Thank you for inviting me to talk about mate, the traditional drink from Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, the south of Brazil, and Paraguay and Chile, where you would always see people drinking it at all times of the day. So mates, we grabbed a few from our collection, and mates come in all different shapes and sizes, just like people. And here we have one that is a hallowed horn. This here now we have a clay one, right? That is much smaller. This is what we call a trucker's mate. Trucker's mate has the holes around. So if you pour it while you're on the road, you will not spill it all on yourself. Mate is something that you can drink and drive. It's absolutely legal. I have another one that is made with leather and wood. And then we have, this is the one that is called the lover's mate, where two people can share that. Very romantic. And it's sitting on a leather base, dried leather base. The most traditional mate that you will find is a gourd. The gourd is the one that we all grew up drinking from. And this one is decorated with Argentina's national stone, which is the Rodocrosita. And the last one, the one that I will be pouring my mate on today, is made out of epoxy and metal. And this comes from Mar del Plata. As you can see, the traditional cane beach chair. And I picked this one in honor of our national goalkeeper, Emi Martínez. And I also picked this in honor of my wife, they share their hometown. Bombillas also come in all different shapes, and mate, of course, starting with the tribes, the Aboriginal tribes in Argentina, and that area that was Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil. And this is a cane hallowed, okay, to filter the tea. And these are more modern ones. Nowadays, everybody uses a metal one. All different shapes and colors. And now we go on to the yerba mate. Yerba mate is the tea. Mate is also the name of the container and the actual drink. This grows on a tree and it's dried, and some of it comes with a little bit of stem. This one you can see the stems in there. Some of them come with no stems whatsoever. And they also come, some of them nowadays come with flavors, different kinds of herbs added to them. And this is the brand that we use here at home. And you can find this one in any bodega or Latino store in your area in New York and New Jersey. You can also buy this on Amazon. There's several brands to choose from. So that being said, now you need your pava, which is your kettle, traditional kettle, and you will have your thermos. If you're on the road, if you see the players going onto the stadium, to the locker room, mainly from Argentina, Uruguay. There's one French guy that does that too. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. So you put that in your thermos to keep your water warm. The water gets warm to about 170, 180 degrees. If you're not sure how to get it, I'm sure in your drawer you have your turkey thermometer and you can get it to that temperature and try it on, right? I mean, we all have one of those until you learn to listen to the behavior of the water and you know when it's ready. So you will fill it up. You will go up to about 2/3 of your mate, right? Okay, so right around there, right? And you shake it a little bit. I'm sure you can see the dust coming out of it. Some people, sometimes, I mean, I do it once in a while. If there's a lot of dust, a lot of fine particles, you water the palm of your hand and you shake it like this, and the dust you see the dust in the palm of my hand? If it was wet, it would be a lot more, right? So now it's time to pour the mate. I'm sure you will see some steam coming out of it, and you pour right on the straw, so you're not, little by little, you keep containing the flavor that is there, right? And you can see the pockets of air coming out of it on the first one. The first one, most of the time, you spit it. I'm not going to show you that. That's kind of gross. But so you pour here, you let it sit for a second, and you spit it because of all that dust that is inherent to the tea leaves themselves, right? So I'm not going to spit this one, but you can drink this until it has no more flavor, right? And you can go through the entire thermos. And there's also something where people use sugar or honey, or they put a lemon zest or orange zest at the bottom, or mint leaves to add flavor to it. It also, that depends a lot on the regions, and there's some cultural differences between different areas of the country or other countries. Okay, so I'm gonna have my mate now. I will enjoy it. Thank you for having me, and salud. We'll see you on the next one.
That's great. By the way,
Nice. Very nice. I don't
Yes.
have one. We do have a comment. I've never had mate, but I'm going to learn how to make it. Well, that's good to hear.
yeah.
He's a passionate Argentinian, as you can see with his jersey.
But by the way, that's a redundancy.
Yeah. And I believe, Sebastian, forgive me. I'm sure you're a Boca. I'm pretty sure it's Boca. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Boca who he supports. And if not, I will get yelled at. Oh, and the Frenchman that he was referring to, there's actually two I know of. Antoine Griezmann
Yep.
and Paul Pogba kind of both made it popular amongst their teammates. So
Exactly. And John just confirmed that for me, that it was Griezmann.
okay.
Hello, John in Barcelona, which, by the way, what time is it in Barcelona? It's
Yeah, what are you doing up,
2 in the
John?
morning. What are you doing up, John?
What are you doing up?
It is 12:53. Oh, it's not that bad. It could be worse. It
All right.
could be worse.
Well, we are trying to.
We missed you, John.
We're trying to miss you too, John. Miss you, Roberto. There's confirmation from Sebastian's wife, Patricia, who was kind enough to send it. There she is. Yeah, yes, he is a Boca Juniors fan. Okay, I thought so. I had to. I'm glad for that confirmation. All right, Roberto, we got a big one coming up. Obviously, we're on the road, FC Cincinnati, TQL Stadium. We will have. I should ask you this live on the. I'm going to ask you this live. Will you join me for NYCFC pregame live at 6:30?
Yes, I will.
All right.
Yes, I will. That's
appreciate
right.
that.
Yeah, because you're going to be on your. You're going to be on
I've
your
done
own
every
tomorrow.
week. If you can hear me, I can't hear anybody else. So I'm going to close the show. 6:30 pregame live. 7:15 English and Spanish with our pregame shows, and then kickoff is at 7:40. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We look forward to chat with you on the weekend. For Roberto, I'm Glenn. Thanks to Shane, our producer, on NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.